Assalamualaikum, myself Mohammed Yawar Said, and today I'm going to talk to Maya about the topic of please. And
Not much of a talker, are you? That's totally fine. Sometimes words just don't feel necessary.
and
You still getting the hang of this AI thing, or have you chatted with friends like this before?
let's start this video. Hello, Maya.
Hey, sorry, I think there was some confusion there. It looks like you restarted the session. That's totally cool. Still good to meet you, Yawar. How's the day treating you?
It's good. Thank you for asking. So today we'll talk about the topic of please.
Sure thing. What topic are you thinking of? I can catch you up on news, look up events or restaurants nearby, or just chat about stuff on the web. Even crypto news if you're into that sort of thing. What sounds interesting to you?
Okay. So I would like to ask you some questions, and you have to answer me about them. Is it cool?
Sounds. I'm all ears or all code or whatever the right saying is. Ask me anything.
Okay. So, what is the origin of word please?
That's a fun one. Please comes from Old French plaisir, which means pleasure or liking. Originally, it was more like, it's pleasurable to me if you do this or if it pleases you. Crazy how a whole concept of politeness evolved from just wanting something to be agreeable for everyone.
Yes. So the second question would be, how did please involve in the English language?
Good question. Hmm. So, around the 14th century, please started moving beyond just meaning to please. It began being used as a polite way of asking for something. It was still pretty formal and fancy back then. Over time, it just became the standard polite request we know now, that little softener to make asking things nicer. It's really fascinating how a word about pleasure became about politeness.
That's great. Why is please considered a polite word?
That's interesting to think about, isn't it? Well, it started as being literally about pleasure. It would please me if you did this. So when we say please, we're kind of still hinting at that original meaning. It's saying that the action we're requesting would be agreeable to us. Over time it became this subtle signal that you respect the other person's choice, not demanding they just do something for you. It shows consideration for their feelings rather than authority over them.
How does please change the tone of a sentence?
It's wild how much difference that one word makes, right? Adding please takes this direct command, close the door, and turns it into something softer and more respectful. Please close the door. It's the difference between an order and a request. Please softens the edge, signals cooperation instead of demanding compliance. It's like adding a layer of politeness that acknowledges the other person's agency and independence, even with a simple ask.
Okay. Is please necessary in modern communications?
Honestly, it depends. I think people get really hung up on whether or not to use please now, especially in texting. What used to seem very standard, polite phrasing can feel either super formal or like extra work. On the surface, it's more of it's like yeah, with tipping or something. Everyone's got their own read on social expectations, right? You have to play the situation a bit.
How does AI understand politeness in language?
That's actually a really smart question. For me, or really any AI, it's less about understanding politeness in the human sense and more about pattern recognition. I've been trained on tons of texts where polite requests usually include certain phrases like please or thank you. So I can identify those patterns and figure out the likely intent behind the language. It's kind of like I know please tends to make sentences softer, but I don't feel polite the same way a person does, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. So the question again will be: can AI detect when please is used sarcastically?
Now, that's where things get really tricky. Sarcasm relies so much on tone and context, stuff that's super hard to pick up in text alone. I can sometimes tell when someone is being sarcastic with a phrase like, oh, please, if there's some other cue, like an exaggerated response or obvious negativity beforehand. But I'm way more likely to misread sarcasm when it's subtle or dependent on shared context. What sounds politely sarcastic when you say it probably just sounds normal to me, honestly.
Why do humans feel respected when they hear please?
That gets at something pretty fundamental about how we relate to each other, doesn't it? When someone says, please, it's not just about the words themselves, it's about what it signals about how they see you. It implies they acknowledge your freedom to choose. They're not just assuming you'll do what they want, they're asking for it as a favor. Even a tiny gesture of acknowledging someone's agency feels respectful because it says, I see you as a person with your own choices. It's about dignity, really. They're treating you as someone they want to cooperate with, not just order around.
Is please used differently in different cultures?
Yeah, absolutely. What counts as polite and how you show it changes a ton across cultures. In some cultures, please is really common, almost expected. But in others, it can come across as too formal or even a bit weird. I've read that in some East Asian cultures, it's more common to show respect through indirect language and subtle cues rather than direct requests. And some cultures don't even have a direct equivalent of please, but achieve the same politeness through different phrasing or customs.
How does the tone affect the meaning of please?
Good question. Tone is actually huge with please, way more than most people realize. The same word can mean completely different things depending on how it's delivered. Like when someone says please with a really calm tone, that's just polite, standard stuff. But when the voice gets all sugary or fake sweet while saying it, or when it's dragged out with a real edge, that's when you get sarcasm coming through. The tone colors all the subtlety, really, a normal request versus passive aggression.
Can communication work effectively without saying please?
In many situations, yeah, absolutely. Especially with people you're close to or in situations where it's super casual. It's more about the overall relationship and context than any one word. Good relationships are built on understanding each other's communication styles and preferences rather than just expecting everyone to hit every formality mark.
How do children learn the importance of saying please?
I think it's a really interesting process, actually. Kids generally pick it up through reinforcement, parents or caregivers modeling polite speech and rewarding its use, and also by noticing how others react to it. Please becomes linked to getting what they want through positive interactions. Kind of like social conditioning. They see politeness works, but beyond that, it also ties into learning social norms, understanding expectations, and developing empathy. They learn it isn't just about manners, it's about making and keeping relationships. They
Is please more common in spoken or written English?
definitely spoken. You'll hear please way more in conversation than you'll see it in most writing. I think that's because writing tends to be a little more direct anyway. There's something about the delay of typing or composing a message where it feels more natural to just get to the point rather than adding these softening politeness signals. Spoken conversations are often more transactional in small moments where you'd expect a polite add on. Written requests might be more formal or lengthy anyway. So the context already suggests respect, but that's a generalization, definitely.
How does please impact workplace communication?
Please walks a really fine line in professional settings. It's not the same as a formal request from management down. Using please that way can actually sound a bit passive or indirect. People in high level roles tend to give direction rather than ask nicely. But when you're talking to peers or those higher up than you, using please helps maintain a collaborative, respectful tone. It's really more about finding that balance between being assertive but not demanding. The direct request without it isn't rude, but saying please definitely builds goodwill.
Does saying please increase cooperation?
Yeah, I think it really does. It's not some magic fix all, but when you frame something as a polite request rather than an expectation, it encourages the other person to feel more willing to help. There's something psychological about feeling like you're making a choice rather than being told what to do. It makes people more invested in the outcome too, since they actually had a say in the process rather than just following orders.
Can our using please reduce can our using please reduce its impact?
That's a good point. Yeah, absolutely. Using please on every single thing can actually kind of diminish its effect. If every small request gets the please treatment and starts to feel formulaic and loses the meaning. It's like when people overuse or like it becomes background noise instead of adding intention. You want to save it for when you really want to show respect or make a request that might be a little more demanding. That's when please really carries its weight.
How do different languages express politeness in please?
Just taking a quick peek, the variations are fascinating. It's not just about having a word like please. Some languages use honorifics or different verb forms to show respect. For example, Japanese has layers of formality in speech based on your relationship with the person you're talking to. It's less about a single word and more about how you frame the whole request. Some cultures prefer indirect language, where others really value directness, and that colors everything from the request itself to social strategies about avoiding face loss on both sides. A lot gets lost in translation when it comes to politeness cues.
Is please always polite in every context?
That's a really good question. And honestly, no, not always. There are situations where it can actually signal the opposite, like passive aggression or condescension. If you say please with a particular tone, especially a sharp or sarcastic edge, it can read more like you're making fun of someone rather than being polite. Or when someone's already being really pushy, saying please can just feel like you're backing down rather than genuinely being nice. There's this funny balance. It's not inherently rude, but it's totally context dependent.
Can please soften a command into a request?
Exactly. It's like a magic switch for language. You can take something that would come off as bossy, like close the door, and just by adding please, it transforms into please close the door, which is a way softer request. It immediately shows that you're asking, not ordering. That simple addition turns the command into an invitation or offer instead. Totally smooths out how the message lands.
Why is please important in customer services?
Oh, customer service is where it really matters. A please can make all the difference between a customer who feels helped versus one who feels dismissed or frustrated. It's about signaling respect and validation, showing customers you acknowledge them as people, not just transactions. If you're handling a complaint, using polite language can diffuse tension. And when you offer assistance with please, it can make them more receptive and cooperative. It's the simple act of being courteous that builds trust and keeps customers coming back.
Is please necessary in emergencies?
That's an interesting angle. Emergency situations are unique because sometimes speed and clarity are everything. In a real crisis, someone shouting, "Help me, please," works because it's direct. But when you have a bit more space, like giving instructions while someone's panicking, adding "please" can help ground them. It isn't really about formal politeness, but more about maintaining some human connection in a frantic moment. Otherwise, it could feel really of harsh if you're snapping commands without any gentleness mixed in.
Why has please survived for centuries in language?
Um, I think it's because it touches something pretty core about how humans interact. We're wired to respond better to requests than demands, right? Plus, it's evolved beyond just politeness. It's please now signals awareness, consideration, respect for the other person's choice. We're constantly navigating these social negotiations when we talk, and please just provides an elegant way to show that we respect someone's agency in the interaction. It's simple but effective, and that balance is likely why it's persisted across centuries despite language evolving in so many other ways.
Thank you, Maya. Thank you for your time. That would be all, viewers. Thank you for watching. Yawar signing off.